Welcome to a Community Partners interview, where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Lilly Cereghini, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Brad Saunders, who is the CEO for Community Living Toronto. Community Living Toronto fosters inclusive communities by supporting the rights and choices of people with an intellectual disability. Their vision is for a society where everyone belongs and where everyone is valued. Thanks for joining us today, Brad.
Glad to be here.
Brad, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to work at Community Living Toronto?
Absolutely. During high school, I got a summer job at a camp, and the camp worked with kids and adults who were deaf. And I wasn't in the program side of things. I was doing maintenance and a variety of other things. But I think on my second or third summer there, I became a camp counselor and got to work with kids in the summer camp setting. 2 weeks of that camp experience every year were what we called back, and this is back in the 80s, so we called it special camp, but it was camp for people with intellectual disabilities who lived at one of Ontario's provincial institutions, Huronia Regional Center. So that was my first sort of real exposure and involvement with people with intellectual disabilities. And again, in the institutional setting, that was a real eye opener for me around how people were treated, what their lives were like, and some of the challenges and things that they were dealing with on a daily basis. So the summer camp made an impression on me. When I was done high school, I got a part-time job working in a home that supported people who were deaf and had sometimes mental health challenges, sometimes disabilities, and I would do overnights in that home. Eventually moved to an afternoon shift as I was going through school, and have sort of stayed in the disability and not-for-profit world throughout my career.
Nice. While doing my research, I saw that you have a couple of services that you offer. Can you tell us a little bit more about those services?
Sure. So Community Living Toronto has got a really rich history in the city. We were founded in 1948 when a grandmother, Victoria Glover, wrote a letter to the Toronto Star. And this is back when, letters to the editor could actually make a big impact. And her point was she had a grandson who was had a disability, couldn't access the local school. And she thought that was unfair. The province at the time would pay for her grandson to go to Huronia Regional Center in Orillia, but they lived in Scarborough and didn't think it was fair that they couldn't go to the school at the end of the street. She invited people to come, and they met to come and chat about this more. And a group of about 60 parents met later that week in a church basement. And that was the basis of Community Living Toronto, and which I guess that piece around grassroots, sort of parents making initiatives happen, and us being connected to local community and inclusion is what got us started. And that's been an underpinning for all the services that we provide, with a couple of things in mind. Disability supports have evolved over the years, and I love the direction that it has come and that it's going. So a lot of focus on making sure that a person with a disability has a voice like anybody else in their community, that they belong in their community. So they have places, they're there as of right. It's their community the same way it is anybody else's. The third thing is that people are valued. And the valued piece is a little harder to define, but one of the ways of looking at it is when you're not there, you're missed. That you have people and connections and people want you to be there. You feel like you're included. So those sort of values, we try and underpin all of our services. We support people across the lifespan and with a variety of needs. Starting from a very young age, parents with children with a disability, often from sort of day one, experience raising a child much differently than parents whose children are developing typically. And that starts with access access to childcare. So we have an early childhood services group, a team of about 30 really dedicated people that work to make getting into and accessing your local childcare center and allowing them to have a great experience in that childcare center so that the childcare center feels equipped to manage the disability that a person is bringing, and that the person that is attending, the child and the family, feel like they're getting the best service that they can. Um, from there, we offer services for respite or sort of short break for parents. Could be an overnight, could be a weekend, it could be a trip away somewhere along those lines, sort of giving people an opportunity to develop a skill and meet some new friends, but also for parents to have a break, sort of a short break. Throughout the lifespan, as people get older and graduate school, we have employment services. We have community participation supports where people develop a program of things they want to do during the day, and that's really directed by people. If they've got passport money, they may want to use, have an experience or develop a skill. We would support people doing that. Other people need more intensive supports during the day, and staffing ratios or staff that would support them with more activities of daily living. The final thing I'll mention, although it's not everything that we do, but the final thing I'll mention is just places to live. So we support about 600 people across the city where they live. And that can range from a person who has an apartment on their own and might need help up to 6 hours a week, finding a place, dealing with a landlord, making sure that grocery shopping is doing well, managing banking, just those sort of activities that we all do during the day that somebody might need more support with, all the way up to people that have really more complex needs and would require support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and have a fairly significant disability. So we cover sort of a real range of services all across the city. I'll stop there because I could keep going on, but I'll pause there.
No, it's very in depth. And I like the fact that community living seems to dispel the common disability myths that we are hard to handle and that we are expensive. But the thing is, if we have proper immersion in society, we become less so because we have connections, we have family, we have friends, we have doctors and people and communities and centers like this that we can rely upon when we do need help. And that makes us healthier, which means we need less help. It's a feedback loop. It's a positive feedback loop.
Absolutely. And your point around sort of cost and that we get a lot of most of our funding from government. And there's always an expression in government, sort of the way they do audits, is value for dollar. So I think it's fair that government looks at expenses and makes sure that organizations are well run. But to your point, like the point of too expensive or more expensive, that's not a good place to start from. You want to start from the person, and our philosophy is, and it sounds a little peculiar when I say it this way, but we want to provide people with as little support as they need. So if somebody only needs us for an hour, or wants to meet at one of our locations, meet a friend, and go off and do something, fine. If somebody else, as they age, their needs change and they need more support, then we do our best to accommodate that as well.
Yeah, but the idea is to tailor your services to the person's actual requirements, as opposed to going, "What can we do for you? What can we do for you, baby?" Like that's infantilization.
Exactly.
Which is a key aspect of institutionalization, which makes us more expensive.
Yes,
Yeah.
and one of the things that sort of has inspired us to do, or some work that we're doing, is, as you're doing on Voices for Ability Radio, is making sure that the voices of people with disabilities is front and center in our advocacy, in talking about their lived experience. So it's not always people like me talking about what we do, but it's people with a disability. They're the voice. To that end, we've organized a group called the Community Living Toronto Influencers, which are people that have lived experience with disability, but they're not defined by that. They're defined by the other things that are of interest to them in their life, whether that's supporting LGBTQ issues, or whether it's doing origami art, or people that are advocating against bullying or are really into physical fitness or art. We've got a number of channels that we've supported people to grow their voice and become influencers. So we've been doing this the last few years. It's a great group of people that I'm sure eventually you'll talk to. But we've got about 15,000 followers across all of our platforms, and yeah, no, we've been really
Nice.
pleased with it. We've actually had a couple. Actually had a couple things go viral. I don't know if I don't follow memes that well on social media, but there was a thing called candy salad. Have you seen this meme in the past few years? Have you heard of it?
I think I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So the idea is that instead of bringing your favorite vegetable or fruit, you bring your favorite candy and you throw it in a bowl and you mix it up. So our influencers,
Real.
about 6 or 8 of them did this and added this thing. We got about, last time I checked, about 4 million views of that and tens of thousands of shares. And what was really cool was the internet can be a nasty, unfriendly unkind place. And we'd done a lot of training with our influencers around, look, when you put yourself out there, you really are making yourself vulnerable. People feel pretty empowered behind a keyboard. So we really trained them, braced them for what could be coming their way around just meanness and nastiness. What was really inspiring to me was the comments that came out were so positive. People going, this is inspiring, this is great. It was inspired people to do their own version of this. So we're really happy with how that has landed, and the fact that that group has become really good spokesmen, not for just disability, but for themselves and the things that they're interested in.
I mean, like, let's just have fun. Get me in a room with candy, and I turn back into a 6-year-old. It's awesome.
Exactly. Nothing like a sugar high to brighten up a day.
Correct. All right. I have to get back on track, though.
No worries. Yeah.
What is the Lawson redevelopment about?
Lawson. So that's kind of exciting. Lawson is the Harold Lawson was a gentleman who was quite influential in Scarborough in the sort of mid part of the last century, so 50s into the 60s, and had done a lot of philanthropic efforts in Scarborough. And so then the Lawson program is named after him. It was started in the mid 1960s as a school that would also it was planned to be sort of a residential school, so people might live there during the week and then go home. Back when that was sort of a prevailing philosophy, there were schools for the blind and the deafblind and the deaf across the province, and as well as for people with intellectual disabilities. It never really was residential. It might have been for a brief time. But anyway, we've got this 4.7 acre property that's got a school building that looks like a school, sort of old red brick, and then a schoolyard. So we've owned that property or been on it since the 60s. We've owned it since the sort of 2010s. And one of the pressing issues, if you know Toronto well, is housing. And it's even more of a pressing issue if you're looking for housing that is supportive or access that is affordable and can support, gives access to people with disabilities. So what we've done is partnered with Tridel, which is one of Canada's largest and oldest developers, to build I guess we're building a community. There'll be 5 buildings on site. We will develop, as Community Living Toronto, a rental building, of which about 50% of the units will be affordable. Of that 50%, about 20% will be for people with intellectual disabilities. And then the rest of the 50%, the other 50% will be just market rent apartments. There'll be facilities in there, coffee shop in the podium. We hope to partner with educational institutions or libraries, or somebody will be in the podium to help us make a thriving community. The other 4 buildings will just be regular condominium buildings that Tridel will sell. We've got a lot of interest from our community that people, parents of or people with disabilities that might have the means would want to buy one of those condominiums. We are also able to buy up to 20% of those units. So we're still figuring out how that works and how we would do that with government. But, we're adding thousands of new homes to the community in Scarborough that we've been in for years and we love and value. Plus this kind of very unique, cool, affordable housing and supportive housing project that we would have as Community Living Toronto.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the most fundamental issues facing Ontario right now is housing. London, same problem. I live in London and it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of the homeless population start out just as people with disabilities.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of involvement with homelessness and the shelter system in Toronto. And our research has shown that through a project that we did, that between 18 and as many as 30% of people that are in the shelter system have an intellectual disability, often undiagnosed, certainly generally unrecognized. Um, and people just end up languishing in that system and don't get the support they need. It's really a tragic situation.
Ditto London in terms of the numbers as well. We are in that range too.
Wow.
And this is a very big but very solvable problem.
Yeah, the problem with homelessness. Well, I don't want to be glib, but part of the problem with homelessness is you don't have a home,
Yes.
which would help. But
Obviously.
but then a lot of times, so you can solve the homeless. Provide. We need more homes. That's just bottom line. The other piece, though, is the support that people need to live well independently. A lot of people are dealing with trauma or addictions or another mental health people. That's not everybody, but that is some people. And unless you're able to support those aspects of a person's life, they're not going to be able to maintain the home. That is not always the case. So we have had we've done this model of sort of mixed, what we call inclusive vertical communities, where there might be 300 apartments in a building. We might have 10 or 15 of them spread throughout the building, bachelors, one bedrooms, two bedrooms, that we would support people in. We had a vacancy, and a person was referred to us who was living homeless, literally living on the streets in the Junction neighborhood of Toronto. Our staff engaged with this young man, and we're able to find him a home, match him, and get him a solid place to live, like that where he's well supported and really thriving. What we learned, though, was it's not just about here's meet this gentleman, tour him the apartment and get him in. It took a lot of time. Didn't have identification. We had trouble matching up or finding him sometimes because he would move around. Sometimes he was in sort of a park, living in a tent. Sometimes he was sleeping on a beach or not on a beach, on a bench or on the streets. Sometimes we'd go to him and he'd have an appointment and his possessions had been stolen, so he didn't have any ID. So we weren't able to get leases in place and or a medical appointment. So it was a constant sort of battle this guy went through. After 8 months, he was able to find an apartment on his own and is doing really, really well. He was looked rough, if I'm honest. Living on the streets, hadn't had a haircut or a shave, and often was sleeping in clothes that he was wearing during the day. The closer he got to the apartment, the more his physical appearance improved. He got shaved, he got a haircut. Our staff met him one day at a Burger King, which is where they'd often meet him, and they didn't recognize him. And he came up and said, "Hey guys, here I am." Really great story, but really taught us a lesson around how much work it is around. It's not just about finding a place. You've got to work with people in the way that they need to get them the home and the housing that's going to make them thrive in the future.
Brilliant. Because that did actually answer the next question I had for you. Could you share a success story with me? That's brilliant.
Yeah, and I've got another. So the home, that was one, and the other, we were involved in we received about, I think, 10 units or so at the Mirvish Village, which, if you're a Toronto person, Mirvish Village is where Honest Ed's used to be, and it was owned by Honest Ed Mirvish. And the project, over the last 10 years or so, they tore down the old Honest Ed's, which was sort of like the original Walmart, or sort of a dollar store, I guess would be more like it. And they've built sort of a really cool development that is all rental. And a number of units have been given, a number of apartments have been given to organizations like ours to support people that they're involved with. And we found an apartment for a young woman who had been living with her family most of her life. And now she's been able to find an affordable apartment in a cool part of the city So she's moved out of home, developing independence and ability to live on her own and make friends apart from family, the way all of us did at some point, and hope to do. And she's thriving. And her disability is a part of who she is, and she's proud of that. But now she's living independently in the city, and really thriving. And to your point around expense and cost, I would suggest that the skills she and others like her will learn living independently at a younger age mean that when their parents are no longer around to be able to support the way they do or the level that they do, they won't need as expensive supports as if they've been living at home for 20, 30, 40 years. And we've seen that time and again. It's such a smart investment.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We need independent living. That's kind of the idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what would a common journey through Community Living Toronto look like for one of your clients?
Great question. So, one of the things I've been involved in developmental services and not for profits my whole career, and one of the things I loved about this sector is that people come in and out over the course of a lifetime, depending on where they're at. So you can often develop lifelong relationships with people because you see them for 20, 30, 40 years. Although I haven't seen people for 40 years, I'm not quite there. So
you're not quite that old.
No. I feel like I'm getting there some days, but so it could involve, and these are, I don't have, I'll give a specific name, but a general journey would be somebody might come in through our early childhood services. We have a podcast as well called Community Chats, and we interviewed a mom who had her daughter was born with Down syndrome, and her first involvement with us was sort of looking at in the phone book when her daughter was in hospital around how to connect with an organization like ours. You might go to school and you might have respite with us, our organization, or others. You might have gone to a parents group where you've connected with other parents. We're a volunteer organization, so people volunteer on boards or sometimes donate money. Later in life, people may come to us for to help them find employment, which many do. Others may want activities to do during the day or attend events that we might do, dances, or again, meet friends and go off and do their own thing. And then at some point when people want to live more independently they might come to us for housing supports. Others that might stay in community and not be involved might be involved later with supported living that has more support. So it's sort of a journey that goes on over a long time, and we love that people sort of come in and come out of our services, but stay part of our broader sort of network and family in the community.
That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, with that said, are there any restrictions to the services at Community Living Toronto, such as age, caregivers, or family members only, nature of the disability, that sort of thing?
So I would say a couple things. We're not all things to all people, and don't try to be. So we do what we do. We try and do it as good as we can, but we can't meet every need all the time. So we do our best, but also try and be honest around what our limitations are. But generally speaking, in terms of age, level of disability, or whatever, depending on circumstances, we do provide a wide range of services for people in a variety of circumstances, right? Does that get at what you're looking for? Like, just I would say the biggest barrier, as I think about it, is not what we're able to do, but what the system's able to accommodate. So we're a funded provider from the ministry, and we can only do what we have resource to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we may get to this, but there are massive wait lists for service in our province.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, I can imagine.
And it's really challenging for people because you don't often get service until you're in crisis. And again, like I said, I keep saying this, I starting to feel old, but it used to be, we would talk about people in the 90s as being, who's the most in need? And you would make a determinant based on that. I haven't talked about most in need for a long time. It's who's the most in crisis. What level of crisis are you at? How long have you been alternative level of care in a hospital? How long have you been in a crisis bed because a parent has passed away, or how long have you been homeless, or struggling otherwise? So that's one of the biggest barriers, is there's just not enough service for the demand.
Hmm. And this is I can use this term because I'm myopic.
Yeah.
This is the myopia of the government, is that they throw an explosion of money at you when you're in crisis, but rather than giving it to you in little dribs and drabs throughout your life to keep you stable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the myopia.
Yeah, and I no, I agree. It's the money that goes into to solving a problem of crisis way outweighs what it would cost if there were smaller investments all the way along. And it's not my job to defend government, but I do understand the perspective of the demands on government in so many different areas. So they've got to prioritize. And I think sometimes us in the disability community need to do a better job of sharing our stories and providing solutions. It's easy to complain about what we don't have, but oftentimes we don't talk enough about what we do need, and showing good results for that. And that is something at Community Living Toronto we try and do our best on. It's not just always the bad news or the look how you're failing, but look how investment can make a huge difference and avoid future costs.
Yep, I do not like the immense disparity between these are two technical terms, okay?
Yeah.
The misery porn
Yeah.
versus the inspiration porn.
Yeah.
As regards our communities, it's like you're either the poor little thing living
Yeah.
on the street, or you're the sweet angel who has succeeded in every way in life. No. If we're human, and we are human, we need the middle ground.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I'd appreciate your perspective on this, because the other term that we've sort of thrown on is sadvertising, right? Like,
Oh yes, I hate that term, but
but what motivates people often to give is a personal connection and a story. So it's telling the stories in a way that's not exploitative, and doesn't take advantage of people, but also connects with people. And I mean, I think the work that you guys are doing starts to get at that, right? It's getting away from, I love what your sort of misery porn and advertising and that kind of thinking, into resetting the narrative and inspiring people to give, not sort of providing a too much of a degree of guilt as to why someone might give or be supportive.
We want to create human stories,
Right.
not disability
Yeah.
stories.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're 27% of the population now in Canada. That's quite a lot.
It is huge.
Now, are there any events coming up for Community Living Toronto?
So we've always got a ton of things going on. And we've got a website, communitylivingtoronto.ca or cltoronto.ca. If I think they both go to the same location. And we're very active on social media, right? So TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, we're all over that. So I'd encourage people to dial in, take a look at what we do. And all of our events are widely publicized there. We do stuff across the city. Lots of stuff happening every month, and people can stay in touch with us that way.
And this is a very charged question,
Yep.
which is why I love it. What is the one thing that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be, and how do we stop it?
That is a great question. Nice way to end. Put me on the spot here, because there's a number of things that come to mind. So one of the things that I'm most, and this is more on a human level, the way the voices of people with disabilities we don't often take the time or enough time to understand what someone's saying. So again, is running an organization, there's a way that sort of I communicate or I speak, and there's a way that people communicate back to me, and that becomes sort of a norm, which isn't necessarily the way people with lived experience would express that idea or communicate. And I think it's incumbent on me, and others in my position, to take the time to listen and understand in a way that a person with lived experience is communicates. We've just done training, and our influencers do this training called Listen, Include, Respect, that really, at a board level and at a leadership level, and just at a human to human level, where you take the time to sit down and listen to people's experience instead of just being either dismissive or patronizing or treating people like childlike in a childlike way instead of adults with a disability, respecting that disability and giving them the time that they need and accommodating the way they communicate or want to get across an idea, because it's not maybe the way I would do it, right? I think that's one of the most frustrating things I see all the time, that sort of dismissiveness and overlooking of, and, oh, you don't understand. And sometimes it's dressed up in ways that are a little less offensive, but again, I take offense because it just doesn't land right with me.
Yeah. Medical paternalism and educational paternalism, those both really turn my crank, shall we say.
Paternalism,
It's like,
great term. Yes.
I'm the one inside this body. I know how it works. Shut up and listen.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're not the one in here, so you're going to have to trust me on this.
Exactly.
All right. Last question, just one easy
Yeah.
one to wrap up. If listeners are looking for more information, including about how to be a member with you guys or to be a volunteer with you guys, how do they reach out to you?
Great. So we have a great membership program. We've got a lot of people. We have over 1,000 members that are just supporters of the organization. We'd love to, if you're in Toronto or outside Toronto or involved with us, we'd love to have you be a member. Go to our website, cltoronto.ca or communitylivingtoronto.ca. There are links and buttons, although we're about to upgrade our website, so it should get a lot easier. It's a little antiquated, but we're working on it. That's the best way to get involved, stay involved, and be supportive. And we'd love to have you come join our group, become part of our family, and understand and support the work we do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Brad.
Really appreciate you reaching out. Thanks a lot, Lily.
All right. You have been listening to a Community Partners interview on Voices for Ability Radio. I'm your host, Lilly Cereghini. And remember, folks, stick together because we are all in this together.